I trust people a lot, basically. I trust a lot my people. I trust them at least 2 times or 3. So that's a lot.
I mean, 2 times or 3, it seems like micromanagement.
But you know what I do? Unfortunately, I have a certain age and a certain experience, so I know what's happening forward. I always look a couple steps ahead. And then if I see that they are going to make a mistake, I don't try to stop that. I try to go and protect them after, so that they learn. That's what I really do.
Well, that's
and you know, sometimes they joke with me. They say, "Why didn't you tell us?" I prefer that a lot. It works. It works.
What kind of advice would you give to your, when you were starting out?
Just keep your mind alert. I mean, the thing with any job, not my job, any job, is that if you get good at it, after a while you acquire a certain safe feeling about what you know, about what you think you know, about things, how they unfold in front of you, and you lose touch. So you should always be on the edge. Always be on the edge, because things change quicker, always quicker. Even if you think that they have to change quicker, they change quicker even. So be on the edge all the time. It's never really feel comfortable.
How much focus do you put on diversity on your board, but also amongst the employees?
This has to do with that, because diversity stimulates this edging feeling. You always have a different mind, and typically when you talk about diversity, you imply gender diversity, which is the easiest way of diversity measurement. But really, I think it's the mindset diversity that matters. And that has to do with culture, it has to do with preparation and what professions people come from, and inclination and character of people. I try to mix always different people. In my team you find completely different people together.
Financieras. Bloomberg Surveillance. Lunes a viernes, 3 de la mañana. Porque reconoces lo importante, el financiero Bloomberg.
Rainfall records all the way across Texas. Well, they set rainfall records for the United States. In a warmer atmosphere, the atmosphere can actually carry more moisture. So the chances are that the storms will get 10 to 15% rainier.
While these storms are known for wind and rain, they do the bulk of their damage through their storm surge, the walls of water they bulldoze onto coastal land. But that hasn't scared people away from shores. The U.S. Gulf Coast alone has seen its population surge 25% in just 16 years. This trend is concerning, and it's costly not just for the homeowner, but also the government and ultimately the taxpayer. Thanks to the National Flood Insurance Program, policies for homeowners cost about half of what will be the true market rate. But relocating families to higher ground is also expensive. It will cost the U.S. government $48 million to relocate 24 families in Louisiana. That's why some cities and countries are harnessing technology to try to defend against storm surges. Tokyo built a massive underground flood diversion facility, and New York is planning a system of walls and levees to prevent damage from future storms. There's certainly no time to waste, as climate change is supercharging the strongest storms on Earth.
The impact that would have on people accepting me into the role. But, you know, I already had that respect, and they said, oh, you know, she knows our industry. So I had that respect, and that made it a little bit easier. But what makes it so tough is the numerous stakeholders. And I had not anticipated that, because of you're running a market, that so many people would be interested in what's going on, and you'd be pulled in so many directions. And it reminds me, and always reminded me, of going into an old fairground mirror experience, where you'd look into this weird mirror and it would do all sorts of things to you, and it would sort of pull you in directions like this. That's how it feels, and that's how it felt when I started. I was like, what are all these people? Why are they all so interested in Lloyd's? But it's because Lloyd's is such an amazing 330-year-old institution. And it's so global. It operates in over 200 countries and territories in the world. You've got all sorts of governments interested in it. You've got individuals, you've got businesses, you've got scientists. You know, everybody seems to be interested. And that's what I underestimated, the complexity of the stakeholder base that I've been trying to manage.
So is it also very difficult to change, right? Both on a diversity level, but also on a technology level?
Yeah, because the market is made up of syndicates, so they're sharing some of these big complex risks that Lloyd's does. And that means I can't necessarily tell them what to do. I have to influence and bring them along with me if we're going to make change happen. There are over 80 of these individual businesses. Each one of them has a CEO or someone who's heading it up. And because they're not our employees and they're operating in a market, and I want to take the market forwards and introduce technology, new ways of working, that has been very tough.
Traditions like what? Is it, the use of paper instead of using, for example, technologies? And how difficult is it to change it?
Yeah, and it's really because the business is being done almost identically to the way it was done 300 years ago. So when they were all meeting in the Lloyd's Coffee House, originally when all the, the ship owners and all the mariners were meeting, and the word underwriter was born, which is when people did it was almost like original crowdfunding or the sharing economy. They all got together and they said, we don't know if it's going to be our ship that goes down, so we'll all pool together and we'll underwrite your ship or your cargo. And so they wrote their name underneath each other. The term underwriter was born. So it would have been done on some form of paper, and we still do that today.
How crazy is that?
It does seem absolutely crazy. Some of it is because we do very complex, difficult stuff, and a lot of it's new. So it'll be a new piece of technology, or a business investing in something new for the first time. They want insurance for the first time. So you need that face-to-face negotiation to go on to create the insurance product that's needed. And it's just traditionally been with lots of paper. But we are modernising. We've introduced loads of technology. Yeah. And the technology now isn't the tricky bit. It's getting people to adopt it, to change the way they're interacting with each other on a daily basis. And they like their world. They like coming in. They like meeting with people. And for a lot of people around anywhere, actually, any firm or even in our personal lives, some of us don't like change a lot. We're frightened of it. So we've got to win them over, allay all their fears and say, actually, it's just about moving forward. Just about moving forward. And I often think about it, or I talk about how uncomfortable or how dissatisfied they'd be if they didn't have the latest digital technology in their pocket or somewhere around them, their mobile device. Just think if that hadn't progressed in the 20 or so years since we all started to have mobile phones. They wouldn't be very happy. So let's think about our business and how our customers must feel if we're not moving forward.
You're stepping down early 2019. Why?
Well, I always committed to doing 5 years. When I was approached for the job, it was really exciting. I said, yes, I'd love to come in, modernise the place, introduce technology. But I knew that when you're driving a lot of transformation, you have only a certain amount of time before it needs somebody new. So I will have completed my 5 years. I will feel pretty good at what we've done in that time, and it's therefore time to hand over to somebody else. And I have to be a bit selfish as well. My age means, I'm not getting any younger, and I want to do one more big executive role if I can.
Still in insurance?
Not necessarily, it depends. But I've worked in insurance my entire career, so it might be.
Do you feel like you've done everything that you wanted to do at Lloyd's of London? There was a big loss in 2017. If you had maybe had more time at Lloyd's of London, would you not have gone out with a bigger bang?
Well, the losses were basically driven by natural catastrophes. So Lloyd's, we write natural catastrophes. That was the biggest thing. $12 billion it cost the Lloyd's market, but that's what we're here for. That's our purpose. We're here to provide that, that financial compensation when things go wrong. So we know that's what we do. It wasn't a shock. We have to expect it. We model for these large catastrophes. But we do have to also try and fix some underlying profitability in non-catastrophe type business, and that's what we're focused on this year as well.
What's the role of hedge funds in your industry and in Lloyd's of London specifically?
Well, Lloyd's of London has changed dramatically over the years. It used to be funded by lots of individuals, so real individuals, they put their own money into Lloyd's. That all changed a little bit a few years ago, actually way before I joined, 5 years ago. And now we have 90% of the capital is no longer individual private names, or it's either insurance groups who want to own something in Lloyd's because they want to access that specialist business, or it might be some hedge funds, it might be some pension funds who want to diversify their exposures in their investment portfolio. They are a minor part to the capital that comes into Lloyd's, but they also can be an important part because we're all about being innovative, entrepreneurial. We are now launching a Lloyd's Lab, which is going to be looking at really engaging with insurtech, startups, entrepreneurs. They will need backing. So we may find that actually we're of more interest going forward than has been, because we're going to be doing lots of new stuff.
Did you feel like you always had the new chairman behind you, that he was ready with your policies, with your innovation? Did he think that you were going too fast or too slow?
I think most people think they're going too slow. You know, I've hardly ever worked anywhere where you think the pace isn't fast enough. So there's always that pressure on us to deliver faster, but because we're in a market and we have so many players to bring along with us, and we've got customers who've been with us for years. One of the first things I had to do was present the Chinese Aviation Authority with a special scroll for 40-year relationship. You know, that's what I had to do. So we have to bring our customers along as well. And that's why I think since the chairman's come on board, he realises the complexity, and he's completely supportive of all the new stuff we're driving.
And Gabriel, you said you have it in you to be another, I don't know, chief executive, for example, of a FTSE 100 company. Is that because you want to be a role model for also other women, or is it just because you like innovating and you like changing?
I do have a sort of personal purpose that I want to empower women in business if I can. So because of that, you do feel, and when you're in a very senior role, particularly in financial services, where we're not so good on our diverse, at least diverse leadership teams. So I do feel a little bit of pressure to be a role model, but that's not what's really driving me on. I love to be busy. I love challenges. I love transformation. I love getting people to sort of see what it seems impossible, see it become reality. I just love doing that. And so I'm just a very driven person from that point of view.
And that was from the beginning, from a very young age? Where did you learn that, or when did you first see that quality in you?
Yeah, well, it's only come more later. I was always very competitive. I was always very sporty. When I was at school, I was always competing. But this sort of motivation, this drive, this energy, I don't really think it happened until I probably got to my 30s. When I started off working, sport was really important to me, and my work was very, very much secondary. I didn't even really focus on having a career, and it's come up on me. And then the next opportunity I got, the more I enjoyed that. Then the next one came along, and the more I enjoyed that. And it's sort of grown on me, and I've grown on insurance. And I've just had a wonderful time, but it's got me so excited. And insurance has particularly kept me because we serve such a good social purpose.
Still to come on Leaders, diversifying Lloyd's of London.
We talk about the challenges of modernizing the 330-year-old company.
El Día de los Billeteros para mí es el mejor día del año. Lo celebro más que Navidades, que cumpleaños, que cualquier otra fecha importante.
Tres horas de información continua con lo que tienes que saber de negocios y finanzas del continente americano. Bloomberg Daybreak Americas, en vivo desde Nueva York, lunes a viernes, 6 de la mañana. Porque reconoces lo importante, el financiero Bloomberg.
In 2014, Inga Beale became the first female chief executive at Lloyd's of London. Since then, she's transformed the institution, making waves as a leading voice for diversity in financial services. But Lloyd's still had a 27% pay gap in 2017. So what's the company doing to tackle inequality? Inga Beale is still with us.
When it comes to diversity, how backward is the industry?
We're not doing that well. We're not the worst sector there is around. I think in the UK, having to report the gender pay gap, that has highlighted the financial services sector. Banks are pretty bad and insurers aren't so good either. But getting that data out there is going to help us all at least realise where we are and I feel do something about it. Now, the gender pay gap at Lloyd's, just in the UK,